Good morning. Andrei Pinkov from Kazan Defense Review. Now, we discuss Russian military parade and East-West relations. This year's military parade and the service of the Kazan class nuclear attack submarine, we call SSGN, shows that Russia is still a major military power. It is a military power second only to the United States. Some aspects of military technology have advantages over the United States. For example, Kazan SSGN is testing a hypersonic 3M-22 cruise missile with a flying speed of M8 to 9 and a range of more than 1,000 kilometers. Most importantly, according to Russia's weapons and equipment development plan, all weapon spare parts and components will be produced in Russia starting this year, so as to completely get rid of dependence on Ukraine and Belarus. 5 Boris-class SSBNs have been built, and the Bulava submarine launched ballistic missile has conducted at least 10 successful launch tests since 2014. A new generation of PAK-DA strategic bomber is also under development and is very likely to be unveiled in the next 5 years. At the same time, the Russian Air Force is still receiving more Tupolev 160M strategic bombers. The design of army equipment is creative. For example, most armored vehicles are unmanned turrets, including the new generation of T-14 main battle tank here, T-15 infantry fighting vehicle, and so on. The Uran-9 unmanned combat vehicle was displayed at this military parade. It will change the combat style of the future army battlefield. For a strategic perspective, I believe that Russia is no longer a real threat to the West. Therefore, both parties do need to adjust their foreign policies. Whether believing or not believing in the existence of God, whether recognizing or not recognizing the democratic principle of the separation of 3 powers, these are the most fundamental values and difference. Russia recognizes both, and some country does not recognize them at all. This is a big difference. Indeed, Russia's democratic standards are far from our Canadian standards. But how many years has Russia been founded? It's only 30 years. We should give Russia more time. A prospective democratic system cannot be built in one day, especially in Russia. Such society, such culture. I think it takes several generations. First, we can see that Russia no longer exports ideology. Second, Russia has never exported the virus. Third, there are no territorial disputes and territorial water disputes between Russia and most countries. No artificial islands will be built by Russia. Fourth, Russia does not lend usury abroad. Fifth, the key point is, I have been to many local cities in Russia. I think Russia and Japan are in the same situation, that there is a serious shortage of population. It is almost impossible to become another Soviet Union. Russia has huge natural resources, including oil and natural gas, which Europe needs. The improvement of relations between the West and Russia is in the interests of both parties, including the interests of the United States and our Canada. The United States does not need to build more enemies. I would like to remind that the United States sometimes overestimates its overall strength. According to strength of the United States today, it seems difficult for them to even deal with a certain newly rising social imperialist country. Of course, Russia also needs to actively adjust its relations with Europe and the United States. I also believe that Europe and even NATO cannot pose a real threat to Russian security. Europe cannot return to the Cold War era. Oil and natural gas have become a new link for cooperation between Russia and Europe. In the era of nuclear weapons, NATO has no power to threaten Russia's security. What's more, Russia has the most advanced nuclear weapons in the world. Here, conventional weapons technology is also at the forefront of the world. This is a story today we discuss. I will see you next week. Thank you very much. This is a Uran-9 unmanned combat vehicle.